So last week I went with Ramon down to Roaring, and I didn't actually get airborne. I didn't have the guts, so I just ground handled on the beach. But would you be better off taking your reserve out when you're doing that kind of flying? Is that more dangerous to have it on board?
No.
It's not more dangerous.
You're not going to actually deploy your reserve.
No? Okay.
It's just not good for the
You
reserve
check
to
your
be
pins.
sanded.
Before you launch, every time you have to check the pins to make sure that they're in.
Yeah.
But you don't want, you don't flying on beaches and sand dunes does fill your gear up with sand.
Yeah.
So you can then probably go to a park and ground handle and tip all sand out before you pack it up again, probably.
Yeah.
Or you have get hold of a crappy harness that weighs nothing that you don't mind trashing, and that's your dune goonie harness. Because yes, you're not going to deploy a reserve on the dunes.
And I think if you're thinking about, I'll take my reserve out because I'm going to fly in the sand and I don't want to wreck it. Every time you disconnect it and reconnect it, there's a chance to cock it up. So once it's done right, and usually, at the repack weekends, we nearly always have 2 people doing the whole thing, all the way through to connecting it to the harness and double check everything. And so doing it yourself at home, it's really easy to balls it up. And it's one of the reasons I like to leave my glider attached to the harness and pack it all together, because then I know that it's still attached the right way, because I just flew it the day before or a month before or a year before, and it was the right way then. I can't get it wrong in the pressure of trying to get off because everybody's launching and the thermals are on or whatever. I think it's too easy to stuff up.
And I always disconnect mine.
So. Yeah. Maybe it's because I'm not as smart as Simon. I'm just not as thorough.
I always disconnect mine because if I'm setting up in a mountain environment, then if I'm not attached to my wing, I can walk up and untangle a line without dragging all my lines back on themselves.
Oh, but but it depends when you put your harness
get
on.
off the harness too. Yeah.
You can be in your harness.
Yeah, but you can stay. No, but if your harness is attached to the wing, you might as well get out of your harness, go and figure out.
Every time. For that little twig. No, you sort the line out and you lift the wing and drop the wing and then clip in. But that's just something. That's how I've worked. And it's a case of saying, okay, what are the risks associated with doing that? I could clip in back to front, or I could clip in with a twisted riser. What do I do to fix that? Well, I really worry about those things when I clip in.
I leave mine attached as well because I find in Tassie the window of flying can be like really small. Like you get to the site and sometimes like people are flying by the time you spend 20 minutes setting up, it's done, like it's over. So I find personally that I want to get the most in the air, and I find that by just leaving it attached. So I know when I get there, it's just out, and I just, ready to fly.
And the other thing I'd recommend if you do keep it attached, which is a lesson that took me a long time to learn, is pack it away in exactly the same way every time. Like, so when you concertina it up, figure out a way that you can fold it all and put it into the harness. And I actually have a texter on my bag for the wing that says harness this way, so that I know that goes onto the harness there. Because I was doing this thing where sometimes I'd unpack it and I was sure that I was doing it the right way, and I'd go to lift my wing up and my risers were twisted. So at some point I'd flip the wing 180, which puts a twist in the risers. So I just developed a system where I'd lay it all out and do it exactly the same way. So it gets folded in, that gets folded first, then that sits on top, and then it goes in the bag. And when I get to the launch, that end of the bag goes downhill, this gets lifted out, that goes back, and just like the reverse. But so just try to be thorough. And that's what you do, like flying a real aircraft. You have a procedure, a checklist that you do it exactly the same every time. And we don't do enough of that in paragliding, I think. Like, we don't have checklists to, I don't know if you guys did the 5, like check your 5 anchor points and stuff.
Says the clown.
I said the clown, yeah.
What is it?
Sure.
helmet, harness, steering toggles, canopy.
That was something that surprised me because I did my private years ago, and then coming along to do this, 20 years later, I had this mindset of general aviation in my head and what it takes to fly a Cessna, and it was I really did my head in, because we weren't learning all these checklists, and it's just a whole different concept of what aviation is.
But it doesn't say that each of us shouldn't make their own checklist that's adapted for their own way of thinking things through, and I think that's a really important thing, like to just do what is going to be good for you, make sure you've got all those things ticked, like whether it's for your harness checkups or like the way you fold your wing or etc.
And actually, Fred and I had a good conversation earlier on with respect to that, in terms of just know where you are in terms of your flying fitness. If you run twice a week and you have a month off, then the next time you go running you kind of take it easy or do it differently, and it's exactly the same in terms of the flying. Have an idea about just when the last time I flew was, how long the gap has been, what I might have forgotten, or what's feeling rusty, because as soon as you've taken off, it's a very, very different game. So it's just a case of sitting down and going, ultra conservative. Yes, I'm going to check everything. Yes, I'm going to ask somebody on the hill, because guess what? We're all, hopefully there'll be other people on the hill. Say, what am I missing? It looks great. Why isn't anyone in the air? Or whatever it might be. But that's why we have these evenings, so that you can, find people to talk to, and not beyond beyond here, but actually on the hill.
Is there a requirement time-wise to maintain currency like there is in GA?
It's 10 hours per annum.
And 3 months for a check flight?
Yeah.
If you haven't flown for 3 months, you have to go to a SSO or an instructor to get a check flight. Is it SSOs can do it or just instructors?
Instructors.
Yeah.